If you're sponsored at a gym, you have to fight when you're told, and you can't be like, oh, I'm tired. It's like, okay, well, maybe a trainer's tired too. That's the deal, and a lot of people forget that. Yeah, I think it's been like glamorized to be a sponsored fighter, but people don't understand. Like, you need to fight when they tell you. You can't keep saying you're injured or too heavy or something. There was a time when I think there was me and another guy. We were the highest paid in Phuket. What I was doing was fighting in the bigger shows and then bridging my time between those with fights in Bangla Stadium. I mean, people like kind of look down on like the fights at Bangla Stadium and Patong Stadium and local stadiums in general. But the thing is, man, like, you don't know who you're fighting. Like, you could be fighting a former Lumpini champion. You could be fighting some like a southern area champion. You don't know. The only difference is that you don't cut weight. So in some ways, those fights can be even tougher than you see in one championship.
Welcome to the Fruiting Body Podcast with your host, Brendan. We are here in Phuket, Thailand. We have an absolute OG legend of a guest. This is one of the originals coming from the Soi Taid Street down in Chiang. He's been coming back and forth between the UK and Thailand since 2013, originally coming on a Muay Thai mission and a couple side quests that we'll discuss later. So without further ado, let's get this podcast started with Adam Earnshaw. I'm going to give you a little bit of background on Adam. Now, we're training together, so this fine physique you see today, this has been molded and manipulated bodies by Adam. It's absolutely spectacular, except for the fact that I can't stop eating cheeseburgers. But we're going to jump right into it. Again, this whole podcast, it's about lifestyle, living in Phuket. It's really good to get the perspective of someone who's been here for such a long period of time, what it was like before all the development and coming and going in different parts around Thailand, such as Phuket and Chiang Mai. So at the very beginning, let's just start. What brought you to Thailand first in 2013, Adam? And again, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, man. Yeah. I was already training Muay Thai in the UK for years. I started martial arts when I was 5, and started to do Muay Thai when I was 14, and there was a local martial arts shop in my city, and a Thai guy came by. He was dating a girl from my city, and the owner of the martial arts shop called me and said, "Hey, there's a Thai guy let's come into the shop. He's looking for PT clients." So I met him, and we got on really well. We training, and I felt like I was learning a lot real quick. And he had to go back to Thailand. I guess his visa was due up or whatever, and he owned a gym in Chiang Mai. It's called Chai Ai Gym. It's closed now, unfortunately, but it's a good gym. And he said, "Oh, I want to sponsor you at the gym. I want you to come over and stay and come and train with me." So, like I had to save some money and stuff, and as soon as I could, I did. I came in September 2013.
How old are you at that point?
23.
Okay, so coming in quite green, and probably your first trip into Asia?
Yeah.
Well?
I traveled around Europe a little bit, basically places that England's already conquered, like Spain and Mallorca and stuff like that. So, it was totally new to me.
You're getting off the plane. Are you flying from London or Heathrow directly? No. Are you flying right into Bangkok? Like, how are you getting to Chiang Mai?
So I flew from Birmingham, like my closest big airport. And flew to Dubai and then to Bangkok. And at the time, I got into Bangkok. I didn't know anything. I didn't even book my flight to Chiang Mai from Bangkok because, I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna try and wing it. And I remember the superhighway wasn't up and running yet, so I had to go like underneath. Did you ever come here then?
No.
Okay, so it was like you drove through like a few like little shanty town kind of things. And I was like, oh, man. I knew I was going to stay for 3 months, but I was like, oh, wow. Like, is this where I'm coming to stay? And, I got into Bangkok City. And, even Bangkok was more chill then. But, I got...
This is like 12 years ago now.
Yeah. I didn't even have a hotel booked. Like, it was before, like, you'd use, like, Agoda or Booking or whatever. So I just asked the taxi driver to take me to a hotel. And he did.
And you're coming to stay there and then kind of take off right away to Chiang Mai?
Yeah, that was a plan.
Yeah. Did you get lost? Because sometimes Bangkok can eat you up and you might not catch that flight.
Oh, man, yeah. So I arrived on a Friday and I was like, I was pretty tired. So I just ate at the hotel and just chilled out. I had a little walk around and got back. But the next day, I was like, man, I want to go and check out Buakaw's gym. He'd just opened up a gym in Bangkok, Ban Chamek. I was like, I want to go there. And I was talking to the taxi drivers, and I was like, I want to go to Buakaw's gym. I mean, my accent was probably a bit thicker then. I was like, I want to go to Buakaw's gym. And they were like, didn't know. I didn't have any idea. And eventually I showed them a picture like this, and they're like, oh, Buakaw. I was like, oh, yeah, Buakaw. You know, and yeah, they took me to Ban Chamek, and I got there, and they were like, oh, we don't have training today. But we have some fighters going to Lumpini. So I was like, well, can I come? And I said, yeah, sure. So they got one of the fighters to take me from the gym to Lumpini Stadium. And we all went in, I got to meet Buakaw and stuff. That was all cool. And then they organised for my flight from Bangkok to Chiang Mai.
Was he fighting in stadiums at that point?
No.
This is kind of getting... He probably would have only been like 30 then.
Yeah, he was...
He's about 42, 40 now.
Yeah, it was just as he was going into Thai fight. So, yeah, that was like... I mean, he'd been in Thai fight, I think, 2011. I think he'd done a few fights then, but yes. Yeah, so he's fighting for them mostly. And... But yeah, it was cool. Like, you know, I got to see some young fighters, and it was at Old Lumpini then. So it was like, oh, wow. Like, you know, I guess it was kind of like a Coliseum or something like that. You really feel the atmosphere. And it was like an afternoon show. It wasn't nighttime. So, yeah, it's like quite different to see fights during the day. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, man, it was cool. And, you know, they were kind enough to, like, take me to a booking agent that organised my flights to Chiang Mai. And the next day I got there.
What month was that in? Do you remember?
September.
Okay, so not too cold getting into Chiang Mai yet.
Yeah.
It gets colder. And you're coming from the UK anyway.
Yeah,
so
everything was hot for me.
They couldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
When you were originally getting into Muay Thai and this trip over to Thailand, was there a roadmap or a connection? Like you wanted to train and fight to make, you know, ends meet just to be able to continue training? Or what was the plan?
Well, I never really had an intention of staying in Thailand, like especially as long as I have. Like I was like, okay, it's a great place and stuff, but you know, it was told to me like, oh, you can fight and make money, you can stay. But and that was good, you know. I was thinking, oh man, yeah, if I can stay there and fight, that's cool, you know. And for sure, I did, and like that happened. But it was never my intention to stay for like, oh, I'm gonna do a year out here, or whatever. It's just time kept going. I was like, oh man, like now and again, I'm like, man, has it been 12 years already? Like, am I that old?
Yeah.
Because time flies here, doesn't it?
There's no seasons, really. I mean, yeah, we have rainy season, but it's not that bad sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, there's been times where I've gone back home for, you know, a few months at a time, and, yeah, time goes slow there.
Yeah, everything's... Well, and everyone's on schedules there. There's so much flexibility, right?
Yeah.
So it's not so rigid.
Yeah.
I think it's a different way of thinking. We kind of get stuck into these molds back home of 9 to 5, and... Yeah. I mean, for example, today someone could call you up and technically you could go meet them for a coffee. Back home, it's like, no, you're in a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah, I'll do it on Saturday at 2:00. Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing here too, is that like we were saying earlier, it's like it's difficult to make plans here with people, you know, because everyone's so free and easy. Yeah,
and everyone's schedules, they're kind of open and up in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always a challenge. I find it's funny. I golf with a lot of older guys, and they're old school because they never had cell phones or even email. So when you're scheduling stuff with them, it's always like a week in advance. Yeah. And like maybe it's golf on a Tuesday here, but like the conversation will end there. Like you just show up and like they're there 30 minutes before. I think it's because that's probably what it was like. And it was kind of like that for us probably growing up as kids. Like, hey, you're with a friend. Yeah. You would say, meet me at this convenience store at 4 p.m., and if they were 20 minutes late or something, like you just assumed they weren't coming. There's no way to know.
Yeah, it's funny how quickly that's changed. Like, you know, you call someone on the landline and be like, hey, I'll meet you tomorrow at 2, and then you do it.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people maybe can connect to this as well. Like I still remember probably like 4 or 5 of my best friends' landline phone numbers from a kid.
Yeah, it's crazy,
like,
right?
They're still here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know my girlfriend's cell phone number.
Yeah, man.
It's just because it's all on WhatsApp and all that. This is just a side we're digressing a bit. Can you still remember like landlines from your childhood?
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
Even my first girlfriend, I remember her phone number.
I think it's because we dialed it so many times, like, and you had to remember it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, to bring it back, so now you're flying up to Chiang Mai. Are you just going to train there for 3 months, or was there a certain amount of time you had planned out? What was that? Were you making a negotiation or a deal with the gym owner, or were you kind of just going out there to train and have some fun?
Well, the deal was that I would train there for free, and I'd fight and then pay something out of my earnings. So I arrived on a Sunday, and the guy, he was like, oh yeah, I'll get you into your hotel room, stay there, and then tomorrow morning meet me at the gym here. And that was it. So I sure enough, like, he took me out for some food. I'd never really eaten spicy food back then, like, I'm from a typical white British family, so like they just don't have spice or too much seasoning, a bit of salt and pepper, and the first real Thai food that I ate was khao soi, the Chiang Mai like curry thing, and man, it blew my head off. And but I was like, oh man, this is fucking awesome. And that was it. That was my first real Thai meal.
Yeah, when they toss the chili in there, it can explode. Have you ever been to Noodle House here?
Yeah,
it's good.
I
get with the beef though.
Yeah,
the beef one's good. Have you had the sausages there? The lady cooks outside.
Sai ua.
Yeah, it's like she cooks them. They're phenomenal, but like the next day, it's like every single time. And my girlfriend's like, you literally get sick every single time.
It's worth it sometimes.
I'm like, but they're phenomenal. They're so herby. Those Chiang Mai sausages. Oh,
yeah.
Actually, for me personally, Chiang Mai food's one of my favorite.
Yeah.
When you go up there,
yeah.
It's a bit more heavy and hearty. I guess because it's a bit colder up there as well. But it's phenomenal. So you're up in Chiang Mai. Did you understand that, like, that relationship and you need a certain amount of money saved, because if you're paying your own accommodation and own food and only free training, I mean, now you really have to start fighting, winning money, and paying back the gym just to survive. Yeah. Did you really have a good grasp of what that was all going to cost?
No. No, I had no idea. I had a rough idea of how much the hotel was going to be and all that, but you know what it's like here, man. If you're being super disciplined, it's real cheap. You're only paying, like, especially Chiang Mai, and especially 12 years ago, like 50 baht a meal, 100 baht a meal. The most that you would spend is like 200. And especially just eating Thai food all the time. And Monday to Saturday, I was staying in. I was disciplined, and then on a Sunday I'd go to the night market. But that would be about it. I've never really been a drinker or anything, so it was, there's no partying going on.
And how much did you actually end up saving up? Like, you must have had to put some money together, saved up before just to jump in here. Was it quite a bit, or?
I think it still works out that my flights are the most expensive thing, and a return back then was like £700 to Birmingham. So, it still wasn't that expensive, and I'd be surprised if I spent $1,000 a month, to be honest.
Back then, you could even do that in Phuket back then.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of English teachers in Phuket working at the public schools would only get 30,000 baht a month, and that's when I came 2016, and you could survive off that. But today, wow. Yeah. I mean, rent alone is crazy expensive over here.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
What were you, when you were up in Chiang Mai at that point in time? Can you recall what were you paying in rent per month? Was it a guest room? Could you describe it?
Yeah, it was just like a small hotel room. It was just like a little studio thing that was a clean, nice. Just came in. You had your there was like you came in. There's like a bed. There's a washing machine outside, and there was a little bathroom and like a kitchenette thing.
Like 5,000 baht a month.
That was 5,000 a month.
Okay,
and that wasn't the cheapest place that was around. And then later on I moved into a house which was 5,000. But yeah, that was just like a little townhouse, like Thai style, like you park your car underneath the house and it's on stilts.
Yeah, and now that in Phuket would be probably 15 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like 2x the price. When you're starting to train at the gym, Thai Muay Thai training is probably much more intense than in the UK in terms of they're getting up in the morning, they're running the 12K, they're training in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Were you prepared for that, especially in the heat?
No, not at all, man. It was the first morning, so I arrived in Chiang Mai on a Sunday. So the next day was up at 6 o'clock in the morning. We met at the gym, and they're like, okay. You saw kids like borrowing shoes to run in. You know, like there were kids wearing like, you know, like grown men's shoes that someone had left there or whatever. Yeah, it was like they was running in skis. But I was watching them run and whatever, and we went out. You know, it was like main roads, but there was no traffic. You know, Chiang Mai was super quiet. And we ran 10K, maybe just a little bit over. And, bro, like, throughout my whole fighting career, you know, up until I retired, I was never really a runner. Like, I'm like, okay, I can, you know, get away with doing that. Because I was in my head, I was like, oh, if I do that, then I'll be bad at hitting pads, I'll be tired. Whereas, you know, you need to be fit to do it all, but whatever, you know. But I did that. You know, ran and then got to the gym, and then they're like, okay, now you go on the bag. And they kind of gave you like a list of stuff to do. It's like, okay, so you do 100 push kicks on both legs, then you're going to do 100 kicks on both sides, and then you're going to hit a little bit of pads and then clinching. Like, man, the cramp in my calves, like it lasted for weeks just because I wasn't used to it. And then the afternoons, start the session again, but you run 5K. And then you had, I think it was 6 4-minute rounds on the pads. You know, that is a lot.
And is that you're doing that 5-6 days a week?
6 days a week.
And then how often were you fighting as well?
I'd been in Thailand for 3 weeks by the time I had my first fight. And in the 3 months that I stayed, I had 6 fights. So there was like, after my first fight, I remember I got staph for the first time. So that, I lost about 2 weeks from training because of that, and then I had to get fit again and then fight again.
How was the lead up to that first fight? Was it against a Thai person, a foreigner?
Yeah, it's against a Thai. And
did you have a little bit of nerves? You're in Thailand fighting a Thai at your first fight.
It was a really strange thing, 'cause in the UK, it was almost like it was not worth me fighting. The nerves would be so bad. Like, I was petrified, like, all the way through, and just constantly asking for reassurance. I remember my first fight, I got to the weigh-in, I was petrified. I was like, oh, man. And then I saw the guy was fighting. He was shredded, like black guy, got gold teeth, scars all over his face. I was like, oh, man, like, I'm going to get it. And, driving back from that weigh-in in particular, I said to my trainer, like, oh, like, what do you think? He was like, well, I'm glad I'm not fighting him. I was like, oh, shit. And I was terrible with my nerves. But the funny thing was, like, being in Thailand, it was, the attitude towards fighting is different. They don't really care if you win or lose. As long as they're not putting money on it or whatever. They want you to perform, but they don't really care if you lose it. They care about, like, if you give up or, you just don't perform. If you listen to your corner and do everything that you can and you show heart, they're going to be proud of you no matter what. A lot of the time they'll argue with the judges and stuff if they think that you've done well. So I think just having good faith in my coaches and knowing, like, how much I had trained, that made the nerves a little bit easier. And also not having all my friends and family there and stuff, that eased off the pressure.
Did you have any surprising, like in those first couple fights, was there anything surprising fighting the Thais where you felt maybe they were on a different level, or did you feel competitive?
Well, I mean, I won the first 4 by knockout, so it was like, I got fights, I got like into, 4th or 5th round, and that won by knockout. So it was like, I was doing well, but I was like, man, I wasn't illusioned into thinking, okay, like, I'm beating top level Thais here. Like, they could kick hard and they could out clinch me, but I was like, okay, like, they're not. You could see on their bodies that they're not fit. They're probably 5 or 6 years past where they should be. But I was still, like, they're still warriors. And it was funny that I was thinking in my head, like, before my first fight, I was like, I'm not going to elbow him because I'd only fought without elbows in the UK at that point. So I was like, I'm not gonna open that. First thing I did was touch gloves and elbow him, and I was like, oh no, and. He like just smiled at me like, okay. It's like, oh shit. Yeah. But I actually find fighting out here a lot easier than than in the UK. Not because the fighters are easier, just the mentality is different.
And out here, obviously, health insurance is quite expensive. Did you ever have that fear in the back of your head? I mean, what happens in Thailand when you break an arm? Because, I mean, unless you have the health insurance, that could cost you 300,000 baht.
Oh, easy. Yeah. I mean, the first trip I did have health insurance. And then, you know, I went back home for a little bit and I came back out. And I was in Chiang Mai again. And, I mean, this is years later, but I had the bike accident. I had a pretty bad bike accident and, you know, damaged my shoulder to the point where, you know, I pretty much had to retire from fighting. And, but yeah, when that happened, my insurance had run out.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so I couldn't, like, I got an x-ray and I knew, okay, that's the problem. But it took me a while to get back to the UK. And then, you know, I did as much as I could privately and then had the surgery on NHS. So, you know, I was still quicker than I would have been, but I was still dealing with the injury for about a year.
The injury, this one occurred in Chiang Mai when you were first here or when you came back? No,
it was when I came back. Like I'd been living in Thailand for a while by the time I had the accident, but yeah, like I'd always had insurance until that happened.
I think, are you able to share that story as well?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we'll share that story in a bit because we're going to lead up to it and connect that timeline. Yeah. So this is a classic YouTube retention. So just hang in there so we get more clickbait. And no, I'm joking. But the purpose is we'll come back to that story so we can connect the dots a little bit from there. So you've been in Chiang Mai. The first stint, you said you ended up staying 3 or 6 months here?
3 months first.
3 months first, and now you go back to the UK.
Yeah.
Most people, when you get back home, immediately you're trying to figure out how to get back here. What was going through your head when you land back in beautiful, sunny England?
Yeah, oh man. Yeah, I went straight into working on building sites again. I was working at on nightlife stuff too. That was, you know, like my business kind of, you know, and but I needed more money. I needed something solid, so I started to work for my uncle. He had a construction company. So yeah, I was doing that like from 7 a.m. and I'd be working until like 5 or 6, go home, and then I'd have work at night time. So I was just grinding as much as I could. You know, I was getting like 4 or 5 hours sleep a day. And
grinding, is that purely to save up to come back?
Yeah, yeah.
And what was your intention coming back? Again, just having enough money to be comfortable so you could do Muay Thai without any stress?
Yeah, yeah. Like, okay, like, you know, if I can stay there and you know, not have to worry about fighting every time that they say. If I can pay membership to the gym, then I can kind of fight on my own terms a little bit. But if you're sponsored at a gym, you have to fight when you're told, and you can't be like, oh, I'm tired. It's like, okay, well, maybe your trainer's tired too. You know, like, you know, that's the deal, and you know, a lot of people forget that.
Yeah.
You know, fighters now, I think that you see more and more divas. Yeah, I think it's been like glamorized to be a sponsored fighter, but people don't understand, like, nah, you need to fight when they tell you. You can't keep saying you're injured or, you know, oh, I'm too heavy or something.
You got to make money. The gym's giving you their resources. You got to be making a little bit of cash for the gym as well.
Yeah.
And showing the name of the gym.
Yeah, and that's the deal, you know. And yeah, so yeah, when I was in Chiang Mai the first time, I did 6 fights, and I went 4-2. So I won the first 4 and I lost the last 2. But yeah, I mean that was tough, but even losing that here was okay. You know, no one was super upset, and you know, it's not like people were making fun of me. It's just, you know, I think you know, in the UK and probably like Canada and stuff too, you get like a little bit of tall poppy syndrome where you don't want to be the one that stands out a little bit, you know, but good or bad. Whereas here it's like, oh nah, it's okay, like, you know, do you, and people will support you.
Yeah, it's more of a lifestyle here than anything. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, the guys at the gym fighting Muay Thai, they're fighting in coaching. They're not fighting, coaching, and working construction.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is it. Muay Thai becomes life here, essentially.
Yeah.
Now you're in the UK. How long did you end up staying there to save up that money to be able to come back?
I stayed the company just started a contract for 6 months for a tire factory, and we were knocking all the roofs through and then putting a new roof in. It was super heavy work, man, because it was so much like carrying like rubble and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I did that. That was 6 months, and then it was real funny. I met a guy on my first day when I was in Chiang Mai, and he came to work at a gym in Phuket. He was going to be the leader of the fight team. And that was how I ended up coming to Phuket. In the time that I was in the UK, the gym that I was at in Chiang Mai closed. They lost the lease on the land. So the guy called me, the guy who moved to a gym in Phuket, and was like, hey, we really want you to come down to this gym. We will sponsor you. You just need to get your accommodation and get yourself to Phuket. So that was what I did. And so luckily I'd saved money already, which was intended for me to go back to the gym in Chiang Mai, but that closed. So then I'd still got this money saved. So I just moved to Phuket instead.
What year was that you were coming to Phuket?
2014. 2014. Yeah, it was the end of 2014 or 2015.
And who was the guy? Which gym?
That was Adrian Sheed. He'd just come on board to work at AKA Thailand just to finalise their opening.
Okay, so you went to AKA as a sponsored fighter?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So obviously you know Mike. Then?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Mike's been on before.
Yeah, Mike's a cool guy,
Mike
man.
Swick. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you're over there, and that probably would have almost been the beginning of AKA. Very close.
It was. Yeah, I mean, a lot of that things still weren't built yet. So, yeah, I was like, I think I was their first sponsored Muay Thai fighter. There's me and a couple of other guys like that kind of came on board at the same time, but I think I was the first Muay Thai guy. So, yeah, I went there, stayed. Man, I think I was there for like 2 years or so. I mean, even longer, like, because it was just because I went home for a little bit, and then, you know, had quite a few fights for AKA. Fought on Max Muay Thai and Thai Fight. Yeah, some of the bigger like Thailand promotions at that time. Like Max Muay Thai kind of lost its name a little bit because they started to be so regular.
Was that with the smaller gloves?
No. I never fought in the smaller gloves.
Yeah.
That came about like way later.
I think that was MX or something.
Yeah, MX. Yeah. And then of course one championship now, but yeah, it was never. I think something got lost a little bit in Muay Thai when they started to use smaller gloves a lot. Like
it changes the art, the dance. It's not the same.
No, you're just seeing all these like boxing heavy guys that are just smashing everybody, and you're seeing less of the beauty of Muay Thai. Whereas
that's why you have Rodtan. It's just a brawler.
Yeah,
essentially they just go and they can just throw bombs, and the technique starts to go out the window a little bit. Right?
I mean, I think it definitely evens things out for phalanx. You know, foreigners coming into the sport. You know, we normally come from a stronger boxing background than most of the Thai guys do, which is so kicking heavy and clinch heavy that you know it's really even that out. But I prefer watching the Thais do it.
So you're over at AK now. You've saved up enough money? Do you still have pressure to fight once a week? I mean, I'm assuming at that point you're getting the Patong Boxing Stadium fights, and it's still they don't pay too much, maybe 5,000-6,000 baht, sometimes 10.
There was a time when I think there was me and another guy. We were the highest paid in Phuket for like the stadium fights. I mean, what I was doing was fighting in the bigger shows, and then bridging my time between those with fights in Bangla Stadium. I mean, people kind of look down on like the fights at Bangla Stadium and Patong Stadium and local stadiums in general. But the thing is, man, like you don't know who you're fighting. Like you could be fighting a former Lumpini champion, you could be fighting some like a southern area champion. You don't know. So in some way, the only difference is that you don't cut weight. So in some ways, those fights can be even tougher than than you see in one championship. You know, because the no weighing in thing can work for you and against you.
It's almost a good practice gym, so you don't have to cut the weight. So when you actually go for your prize fight, that's a little bit more prepared.
Yeah.
Would you use those types of stadiums to prepare for bigger fights? Meaning, like, you know, just you get the tourist Farang that comes here that wants his fight up at one of these boxing stadiums, and they're going to get their head kicked in. You see it all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's changed a lot. Like when I was doing that, it was pretty much you'd have one or two foreigners on that fight night, whereas now it's pretty much 50-50. You know, you can go to the stadium and you'll see like 4 or 5 foreigner fights, whereas back then you'd see 1 or 2. So there are more foreigners in there now. But yeah, like fighting so regularly. I mean, at one point I was fighting like maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks. So you just lose nerves. Like it's okay, all right. Like I'm gonna fight now.
Would you go into those fights fighting at 100% as in terms of your effort, or would you kind of go into maybe second or third gear just so you don't? I mean, that'd be very challenging at 100% every single week. You're going to be burnt out and injured.
Yeah, I mean, looking back at it now is something I didn't realize at the time, but I wasn't fit. You know, like I can see, like looking back, like I gained weight like quite a lot in that time, and because I'd rest, fight, then be injured, have to rest, then train like 1 or 2 days, then rest, then fight, and so I was like barely training at all. And it's not because there was any pressure from anybody. It was just that I wouldn't say no to fighting, and the promoter was like, "Oh, do you want to fight?" I'm like, well, I want to earn some money.
What were they paying back then at Bangla to fight? About 5,000 baht to the winner?
Man, like I was getting paid like 10, 15, depending.
At Bangla?
Yeah, at the time.
At the time, so they give 10, 15, and that depends if you win as well, right?
I'm not sure. I was just getting paid that. I was getting paid really good money at the time.
And then how much would go to the gym?
I have to think, like maybe 10%, 20%. Yeah, it wasn't a huge amount of money. I mean, that was AKA really wasn't greedy. You know, the trainers weren't greedy. It was I mean, it's all new coaching staff now, but I'm sure that like if you fight for them, they'll still look after you.
And then you'd be doing that 4 to 6 times a month?
Oh, sometimes. Yeah, I mean, I did the tournaments too. They used to have 8-man tournaments at Bangla quite regularly, so I would do those. And man, like looking back then, the level of fighters that were coming through the stadiums, like the top level guys, man, like Brad Riddell, Rafael Fiziev, Bruno Miranda, like you'd see like top guys, not like guys now that are still killing it, you know. Like
I'm sure Fabricio and Rogers there. I'm sure Lobo. They've all gone through those stadiums just
for sure,
to
man.
get your practice in as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's where you really learn.
Yeah.
And that's that's guys are all like, okay, all right. You see them in UFC now, but 10 years ago they were still killing people. You know, like that's something that people don't see. It's all the time that they've put into the stadiums.
I wonder where that footage is of those guys fighting at those stadiums. It must be out there.
Yeah. I mean, if you look, it wasn't long ago I was looking at one of Brad. It's when Brad's like a kid. He might be like 17 and he gets swept and kicked in the face. But yeah, man, like it's all on there.
Yeah, the footage. Maybe they have it on. Maybe they have a YouTube channel or something.
Yeah.
I guess you would probably check out something like Bangla Patong Boxing Stadium.
Yeah, I think Brad's is just Brad Riddell Tiger. He was at Tiger at the time, so I think you put that in, it'll come up.
The difference of these promotions. So you said you're also with MX. Were you ever fighting on like Channel 7 or anything like that?
No.
Well, what is the difference? I had Michael Savas, and now Michael. He won. His first name is actually Savas Michael.
Yeah.
But so we're rebranding him. He said. He was one of the first to be fighting for a belt on Channel 7.
Yeah.
Can you just explain to the audience, how do you get to that level to fight on Channel 7? What are the main differences between a Bangla Patong Boxing Stadium to MX?
Yeah.
To there was another promotion you said you're on, and then your Channel 7s and Lumpinis and these top stadium Muay Thai fighters. Can you explain the different levels between maybe a CBA class, and how do you get there?
Right. I mean, it's so like just doing like your normal stadium fights, you can get picked up to go and fight on these bigger promotions, but like Channel 7 and those bigger ones, they really want to see that you're good. Whereas you get some of these other promotions which are just designed to like kind of make fun of foreigners almost, you know. I mean, like Thai fight in particular was one where they were taking fighters that had never even had a Muay Thai fight and they'd gone fight Sanchai. And it's just to make them look bad, you know. I don't know whether it's like a propaganda thing or whatever it is, but yeah, pretty much anybody can fight in those. You just need to have a gym with a connection. And that's the thing with like one championship is and like other promotions. It's who does your trainer know and where are your contacts, and that can be a huge difference for some people. Is that okay? You're training at a really good gym, but they don't have any connections. So where can you go? You know, whereas like that's the benefit with going somewhere like Bangtao or Tiger or somewhere like that where they do have heavy connections to getting you into somewhere if that's your goal.
Yeah, they're feeding fighters into all these different promotions.
Yeah.
And I get it too. The promoter doesn't want to go talk to 20 different gyms. He wants His life is like, I just got to go talk to these guys. They might give me 10 guys. He doesn't have to pick up 10 different phone calls.
Yeah. I mean, the difference between like foreigners and Thais is that a foreigner can stand out really quickly, where a Thai is one of many. You know, and also there's not so many 70 kilo Thais or 65 kilo Thais. There's a lot more foreigners at that weight.
Yeah, there's a lot. Most of them are around the 50 to 60 kilo. This is where most of them are sitting.
Yeah. I mean, like Savas Michael, like he's one of those guys that, okay, we've seen him in Channel 7 and stuff now, but he wouldn't be there if he hadn't have done like a lot of like fights before that where he's had chance to shine and, you know, all that, you know.
'Cause it's so competitive at that weight class as well.
Yeah, I mean, man, I'd much rather be a 75 kilo fighter out here than a 65 kilo fighter or 55 kilo. Because, man, it's so competitive.
So like you're saying, even I remember Bang Tao, where Bang Tao Muay Thai MMA was, before there was a gym there, it was like Sip Song.
Song Pinong.
Yes, and then that changed to Revolution.
Yeah.
But they were feeding a lot of fighters to like Lumpini.
Yeah. Boxing
Stadium. When they're feeding those fighters, would those fighters still have to be at a certain level to get into that stadium?
Yeah. Yeah, they'd have to be good at least. But, yeah, I mean, yeah, the thing is there's no, like, clear, like, way through to anything. It's not like, you know, there's so many world champions, there's so many stadium champions. You know, you could go and fight, someone could go and have their first fight in Bangla Stadium and become a Bangla champion. So, and then they can put on their Instagram bio, Bangla champion or whatever. So there's no, like, clear way through, and there's no, like, there's WBC and stuff like that, but you never really know who's the best. Like, okay, you've got this stadium title, but have you fought Tawan Chai? Or like no. So like that's a problem with Muay Thai. I think is that it's very difficult to see who, like, where you are and where everyone else is.
Maybe there's just so many fighters.
Yeah,
like that it's very challenging to line everybody up as well.
Yeah.
These guys like Tawan Chai right now. I mean, he's probably the top of the top.
Yeah.
In Muay Thai, not just one, in all of Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Like a guy like that, to understand, now he's in one, so obviously are they wearing 3 or 6 ounce?
I think they're 4 ounce.
4 ounce gloves.
Yeah, I think so.
When he moves up to one now, obviously it's going to be for the pay is one thing,
Mm-hmm.
but has he already proven himself as a stadium champion? Is that why he's gone? So he's kind of accomplished that?
Yeah.
Would most of them, would you say a lot of the fighters before they enter their one career need to cement themselves in these stadiums as champions just for even themselves personally?
Well, I think like most of the guys that you see in one, like the Thai guys that are like in their early to mid 20s, they're approaching like retirement age for stadium fighting anyway. Like Tawan Chai, I'm not sure which titles he had. I'm not sure if he had a Lumpini title. I think he had an Omnoi title. I'm not exactly sure, but he was an established fighter anyway. But he probably didn't have that long left competing in those stadiums. Not because he can't do it. It's just that it's just the way that they are. Like they retire early and then he go into coaching or doing whatever he does.
You think that they're retiring at 25 because they've been fighting since they're 4?
Yeah.
So they could have like 500 fights by that age.
Yeah.
What is the life of a Muay Thai fighter like? Okay, it's a bit different now with one. They have a huge opportunity to make great money. But say 10 years ago when this didn't exist, where do the Muay Thai fighters go after 25? Just either opening a gym or becoming a coach or traveling abroad? Yeah,
pretty much that. I mean, they live a super disciplined life from when they're kids. I mean, I was lucky enough to spend time living in the Thai camp with Thai people and, sleeping on the floor with them. And, it was an experience, but like to see how they live, it's super disciplined. And then they go to, I was in Chiang Mai, so then they go from Chiang Mai to Bangkok to go and fight in Lumpini. Then they lose and get slapped around by their trainers and then whatever, they can drink maybe that day. And then, they take the weekend off and then they're back into training. And it's super serious, man. I mean, like the afternoon sessions, just for example, like we go and run 5K. Whoever was last back had to kick they got punished in some way. It was probably a load of kicks or, push-ups, whatever. So no one wanted to finish that run last, but they were already tired. And then they would go and then it's skipping with the heavy rope for 20 to 30 minutes, and then pads, and then clinching for an hour, and then, you know, some people then have to do more bag rounds. And I remember that there's a run which is like a mile long, so like 1.6K, and it was that, but you had to run it in under like 7 minutes, and if you didn't, you had to do it again, and then if you didn't do it, you had to do it again. And like the whole time, a trainer would be riding after you on a scooter and whipping your legs. Like, it was tough, man. And like, that was what I saw, you know, and I'm, you know, not under the illusion that like I saw everything, because I'm, you know, they kind of keep you away from it, you know, even if you're fully into it, they kind of, I don't like keep the foreigner stuff to himself, you know, there's stuff that foreigners just won't see. And yeah, that was, you know.
What do you mean by that? Like, what do you think is going on behind closed doors?
Oh, I mean, that, like, for sure they're slapping the, you know, the you know, things that we would consider abuse, but they're like, no, like, it's good for him, like, he needs to get slapped, he lost. You know, and then, you know, the other stuff, like, I never want to speak bad about Thailand, you know, or you know, a culture thing, but, you know, like the gambling stuff we don't see so much. Even things like the chicken fights and stuff like that, like, it happens, but it's not like we really see it. Drugs also, yeah. You know, I mean, drugs are everywhere, like in any country, but yeah, there's things that go on that we, you know, we kind of kept away from.
Yeah, and I think you see that around these smaller Muay Thai gyms where they know that as well, and why expose the foreigners to it. I mean, yeah. This is their thing as well, and the fact that you're there, I think it's just extra money for them.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Sure, we'll take your money, come on in, foreigner, we'll train you a bit, but this is their life.
Yeah,
like, it's very different. The guy that's 4 years old, he's 20 now, he's been there 16 years.
Yeah,
right? Compared to, you know, some foreigners kind of show up for 3 months, 6 months. It's just they're coming in and out.
Yeah,
they're getting a piece of that experience. There's a lot of stories of when people are training at Muay Thai gyms in Phuket, and specifically the whole Chalong, Rawai, Naiharn area, where they would go to Koh Phi on the weekends just to, you know, kick a couple tourists in the head in that gym there. Have you heard of it? Do you have any interesting stories or heard of friends doing that just to maybe get some rounds in?
Not really pros. Like, I've known of like people that can fight that have gone in there and just like starched somebody. But I mean, I think in general, like, I mean, man, I guess the last time I was there was 10 years ago. So, I mean, it was kind of, things have changed now. I think like the Instagram culture and stuff has really leaked into fighting, and people just want to look cool. Whereas before, people were more martial artists, I think, where it's like, oh, like, man, like, it's just not fair. If, like, you know, if you're training, maybe we could go in there and have like an open spar or something for fun. But yeah, back then, you know, I went with AKA, and there was like a group of pro fighters and stuff, and none of them jumped in the ring to do
expose
that.
Any.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, why? I mean, for sure, like, I've heard about people doing it, but yeah, I mean,
I was there once. I remember seeing 100%. The guy was ripped, and I think he was he's a black guy from the UK, and clearly he was training at one of the Muay Thai gyms, and he's gone there to, like, you know, prove he's trained for 2 weeks. He thinks he knows what he's doing. And he looked ripped, and I'm like, fuck, this guy's ripped. He even looked on the juice. This guy's going to fuck someone up. And he's in the ring trying to, like, call people out. But it was some Canadian kid he called in. And this kid looked like a country boy from, like, Alberta. And these boys, they shovel shit and hay all day.
Yeah.
So this kid goes in. He's probably 5'8", 220 pounds, but just like a big, fat country boy. And just puts his chin down and just starts throwing haymakers and just knocks this guy out. So this guy gets already into his Muay Thai position, like, you know, into his stance and ready. Okay, I'm going to show you my technique and what I've learned. And the guy's like, fuck that. Just head down and just connect, like kind of like a Roy Nelson.
Oh, man,
Yeah. And I remember watching that, and this guy, I'm talking, they had to put him on his side. And so it's funny to watch that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The wrong guy calls you out.
Yeah, man.
I think the point of that story is, like, you get a lot. I have other stories of that too, watching guys come over here. They come over for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. They train hard every day, and they think they can fight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, man. That's like, you've seen it a lot now, and sorry to hear, you know. Man, you even see it with CrossFitters. It's the strangest thing. But, like, everybody on that street is tough. And it's like, man, like, you're causing fights with people, but you don't know who they are. Like, you know, you could be sat next to a Lumpini champion and have no idea, especially with the Thai people, because they don't sit with an ego. They don't, like, you know, you'd have no idea. Even Buakaw, if you see him, he's just pretty chill, man. Like, he'll just go and eat his, like, you know, chicken fried rice or something, you know, like, he's a very quiet guy. But then you know, yeah.
Yeah, I think in Thailand, a lot of these smaller Thai guys too, because they don't like, even like a Michael Savis, they're not holding any muscle because they need to be at a certain weight.
Yeah.
So you'd have no idea who are killers.
No.
You know, again, like if you saw Michael on the road, you would never think that.
Yeah, you throw something at him.
Yeah. Well, you think because they're not holding all that muscle, they don't look all, you know, fit and strong. But holy shit,
he would whoop you.
2 seconds.
Yeah, he's so fast.
Yeah, and it's funny. When I was training a bit of Muay Thai, I trained for like 4 years, and then I just kept getting injured.
Yeah.
I think because with the Thais, I found like where I was training, they are always, when they're doing pad work, they never let you fully extend. So they're always meeting you here. I get like my elbows would get all jammed. But I remember sparring, when you try to actually spar with them, because I'm probably 15 kgs heavier. Yeah. The problem is they're so light, you can't even touch them because they're too fast.
Yeah.
And they would just tune me up. They spin around, kick you in the back, throw you down. And yeah, you're bigger, you're heavier, but good luck even hitting them.
Yeah, well, they you know, they've done it all their life.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is, even when they've retired from fighting, because they're holding pads, their timing is still so good. So you're not going to out-trick them. You're not going to outsmart them. So it's like, oh, shit.
There's nothing you can do.
I think if you're a foreigner and you're coming out to Thailand, you just need to get strong and really fit. I think, and you can get really far in that way, because skill-wise, you're not going to compete with them.
Do you think as a foreigner and you're coming out here, like you're saying, you're getting super fit in terms of your conditioning, your endurance, your stamina, and getting into a 5-round fight with a Thai person, obviously we know the first 2 rounds are kind of show the ponies.
Yeah.
But if you came out and you had the endurance to go 80 to 100% for 5 rounds, wouldn't you just gas them out?
Yeah, you would. But, I mean, the whole time you're doing that, you're leaving yourself at risk of, like, overextending, getting caught or whatever. I've seen a lot of guys do really well. You know, particularly like the Russian guys, like that, they'll just go in and, like, try and kill him in the first round. But the gamblers will hate you for doing that, because they don't get chance to you know, bet or play. So yeah, I mean, if you don't want to play the game, you can do well doing that. Just
coming out swinging. Yeah, that's not really how the sport's supposed to be.
Yeah,
it's 5 rounds. First 2 rounds are kind of
because it's not a fight. You know, that's the thing. It's a game.
Yes.
You know, you're playing a game. That's when you can make that shift in the mentality, then you can appreciate the sport differently, and like as a fighter, you can do the whole thing differently as well. It really takes the pressure out of and the emotional side of like, okay, I'm not fighting somebody, I'm playing a game with them. And then you look at how it's scored, and it's like, okay, I landed more kicks that round, so I've probably won that one. And then you know, go into the next round and stuff, and that's a lot more calm than going, oh, he's kicking my ass. You know, and yeah, it's an unnatural thing to think to yourself, okay, in 2 weeks I'm going to be in a fight. Like, you know, like when you're at school and it's like, okay, I'm going to meet him at 3 p.m. outside the cafeteria and we're going to fight. You know, that's on your mind all day. You keep getting butterflies and stuff. Right?
Yeah, and I guess compared to MMA, they're going in there for the finish. Right?
Yeah,
and they want to complete the fight before the end of the time. Compared to Muay Thai, it's a bit more tactical, a bit more strategy. Plus, a lot of the times, especially like the Batong Boxing Stadium, Bangla, you might be fighting an acquaintance or kind of a friend, and you might fight them a couple times, right?
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
And these Thai fighters that go into those stadiums, they also know both of them need to fight next week because they both need to make money. Yeah. So let's not kill each other. Would you see that a lot? Yeah,
like you'll see them sometimes be reluctant to throw elbows, particularly if it's 2 Thai guys, because they know, like, okay, if I cut him, he's going to have stitches, and then he probably won't be able to fight for 2 weeks. But the stadiums, I mean, they're a great place for really learning your craft, and you kind of learn how to fight, and then by fighting, you learn how to fight again. It's like, okay, so I can punch and I can kick and I can knee, but now what do I do? Like, what do I do well? And that's different for everybody. So like, you can kind of do that in the stadiums without having the pressure of it, having, you know, TV cameras and friends and family all around you. Like, I mean, you make friends out here, but like it's different when it's your friends from like high school that are coming to see you fight and stuff, you know. So
now, you've at this point you've come to AKA. You're in Phuket.
Yeah.
Did you make a trip back home before coming back out, or what led you back into Chiang Mai?
Well, I'd been to AKA, and I kind of money was running low and everything. It was just a good time for me to go home for a little bit, you know. And being in one place for too long can kind of, you know, it can get to you a
that
little
7-year itch. Like,
yeah,
I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, I need to go home for a little bit, and yeah, so I did that, and I went back home again for a while, and then my friend moved to a place in Chiang Mai. He was like, "Oh, do you want to come stay with me? You know, we'll just train and do whatever." So I was like, "Oh, you know what? Yeah, I'd like to be in Thailand without the pressure of fighting for a while," and so I did that. And
which year was this? Now you're coming back. So
man, it's probably like 2016, 17.
So you kind of go home for a year and a bit.
Yeah, I mean, total time.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's a few months, the longest. I think it was the longest I was away. So, yeah, then, left AKA. And then I went into Tiger for a while. And that was, by this point, I'd been injured and stuff. And because I had my bike accident in that time in Chiang Mai, you see.
Before coming back into Tiger.
Yeah.
So which year was the accident, and can explain what exactly happened with what exactly happened with that accident?
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting my dates mixed up, but it was like probably 2017 when I had the accident. Maybe even 18. So yeah, like my dates are a bit all over, but I had the accident. I was driving down a main road in Chiang Mai, and there was 4 lanes, and it was like late at night, and I was driving on the far left lane. And there's a car in the far right lane, and the rain was super heavy, and the guy, I guess he just didn't see me, but he swerved all the way from the far right lane to the far left lane and hit me, knocked me off my bike, and my bike was just crumbled. It just smashed to bits, and he drove away. So I picked up my bike and started to push it, and I was like, oh man. But my arm was stuck by my side. I couldn't lift it at all. And what I'd done was break a big lump of bone from my shoulder, and then over time, like, bone spurs had grown. So like my shoulder was just frozen into place by like calcification. So yeah, that was it took me a while to get surgery and stuff. So in that time, all the muscles and tendons and nerves and everything were all real tight. So even though the bone was fixed, it was like the muscles and stuff weren't free enough for me to be able to punch again. So
that's kind of like the retirement of pushing forward on this.
Yeah, at least for a while. I didn't realize, to be honest, I never really said, okay, I'm completely done.
But at this point, how long now you're not training at all, or are you still?
No, I wasn't training, man. Like I got into a real bad place mentally from not being able to train. I'd had a real super disciplined time while I was in Thailand, and then I had this accident, got hurt, and all at the same time. My mum got sick. My mum had got this like bizarre heart problem, which meant that she had like 10% chance of living. And it was, man, I've got a disabled sister, so everything was like, oh man, in a real bad toxic relationship. So I was like, oh man, this is terrible. And I couldn't fight. It was the first time in my life that I ever felt like if someone attacked me, I couldn't defend myself. So, I had surgery, and then my mum was real sick. So
did you do this in the UK?
Yeah, I did the surgery in the UK. My insurance had run out without me knowing. So, yeah, I would have loved to have gotten surgery out here because it's real good. The hospitals are great out here. So yeah, it was just one of those things, and everything just hit me all at once. So yeah, while I was back in the UK, my mum was telling me all about this heart problem. She was actually checked for pneumonia, and it was lucky that she had pneumonia because they'd done an ultrasound on her lungs and looked at her heart then, and it was then that they were like, oh, she's got an aortic aneurysm. So like at any time her heart could just explode. So she had this surgery, and before she'd had surgery, she spoke to my friends, like my best friends I was working my nightlife with, and she'd spoke to them and said, look, take him away, like take him back to Thailand for a little bit so that when she goes in for surgery, she would still be out, and that way, I wouldn't be aware that she was going and then just come home. So we did. My friends brought me back out to Phuket for like a vacation, because I was in even though I'd had surgery, I wasn't in a place where I could fight. Mentally, I wasn't doing too great.
This can take 6 months to recover at least.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Just for the injury alone, but then also like the mental health and everything. Like it's amazing how bad like things can be when it's all at once. Like I can deal with like a bad girlfriend, like it's okay, but then I can deal with an injury, like that's okay. But together, these are a big thing. And then me and my mum are super close, so like then it was a whole other thing. So my friends brought me out to Phuket for a week, and then on the day that I was gonna leave, I tried calling my mum. She wasn't answering. So I was, oh, that's weird. I knew that she was sick, so I was worried, Then I called my auntie, and she was like, oh, your mum's gone in for surgery today. So with unknown to me, my mum had wanted me to be out of the country while she went in. And it was strange. The surgery that she had, we're like, we're not going to know if she's alive or if she's dead. If she's had a stroke, we're not going to know anything until we wake her up. But she's going to be in a coma for 6 days.
They have to put her into it.
Yeah, they have to put her into coma for 6 days. So I was like, oh man, like, okay. So it was kind of like Schrodinger's cat. Like you don't know, like it's neither alive or dead.
Were you gone by this point, or
so
I was already on the flight? You're out.
Yeah, I was on my way back to the UK from here while my mum was in surgery. Okay. Then I landed in the UK. My friend picked me up from the airport and stuff. Like one of my best friends. He was also a fighter guy, and he took me to my house, and I was just in the house for like 4 days. By myself. In this time, I'd had to put my sister into a care home because I couldn't look after her by myself, and my mum couldn't look after her, so she was in a care home. And my mum was in this fucking coma. So I was like, oh man, like I don't know what's gonna happen in these few days. So eventually, the hospital called me and were like, oh, your mum's awake now. You can come to the hospital. And I was expecting like that scene in Hellraiser where there's just all wires and stuff coming out of the person, and I was like, oh man, like this is going to be bad. I got to the hospital, my mum was out of the bed picking up something that the other person in the bed next to her had dropped. She's like, oh, are you okay? I'm like, fuck, yeah, I'm okay, but you've milked this. Like, I was expecting like death, and she was fine. Like it was
out of the coma much quicker than anticipated.
She had to do the 6 days in a coma, but she just came out and was normal. So she was one of these rare people where they'd use this experimental surgery and it worked perfectly. So yeah, it was just crazy, man. And then I could start to train, and like it was almost okay, like my whole posture changed. So but in that time I'd gone from walking around at like 75 kilos, I was up to 97 kilos
from just like stress eating,
cortisol
levels.
Oh man, it wasn't cortisol. This was just fat.
Yeah.
I'd go and work at a nightclub event, and stop in at like a supermarket on the way home and buy a pack of donuts and like sit and eat them.
Just stress eating.
Yeah, I guess it was so I felt like a hunter gatherer. I've been and achieved these donuts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd do that at like 4 a.m. and not care. But it got to a point where I would shower with the light off, so I didn't have to see myself when I came out of the shower. And it's not like a vanity thing. It's just from coming from like being an athlete and fighting and whatever, and being like the fit guy, and then you're not anymore. You're just fat, and that was real difficult for me to deal with, and like not being able to defend myself if something happened.
How did you get all the weight off? I mean, was it a long process?
No. Like luckily, like something that you learn from martial arts is discipline, right? And my friend had wanted to do a charity boxing match, so he was like, "Oh man, like will you train me for it?" So I started to train him a little bit, and I was like, "Okay, like I can hold pads and stuff because my shoulder, get in there." And I just did some research. I was like, "Man, what's the most effective way of losing weight?" And it was just walking on an incline treadmill, and then I became obsessed with doing that. So like, I'd put the treadmill on like a 10% incline and then walk at like 10k an hour. Like I would hold on. There's people say not to hold on, but man, you can hold on. Like you're still working. And I went from doing like 40 minutes a day to like 2 hours a day. And
but 10K an hour, I mean, you're going at a good pace.
Oh yeah.
On incline.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Every day.
But yeah, I mean, you don't even have to do that. You could do it like 6, you
Yeah.
know, whatever. Like just as long as you're walking or doing something. And yeah, so I'd do that for like. Then it went up to like I'd do 40 minutes before a workout, then I'd do some weights, and I'd do 40 minutes after, and then it was all the way up to 2 hours a day. And within 10 weeks, I'd gone from 97 kilos to 77 kilos, and like
plus diet.
Yeah, I mean, just cleaned out the stuff like no alcohol, you know, and like still like letting myself have some bad stuff, because you know you can use your watch and use your BMR, you know, calculator, and you know, I can't remember the name of that app, but it's like you track your calories on there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'll just make room for myself to be able to eat something bad, so that you know I wasn't living a super deprived life. But yeah, man, and yeah, just from making like a few healthy changes and like some dedication, yeah, it got down from 97 to 77 in 10 weeks.
Did this bring you back into that lifestyle? Were you planning now? Obviously, maybe fighting isn't an option. So, what are you starting to contemplate on? What can you do to continue to be involved in that world? Are you planning to come back to Thailand? What were the next steps?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was still teaching PTs and stuff like that, and then I was like, oh man, like, you know, I could hit pads now. I started to hit pads again. I was like, oh, yeah, this is still fun. I could still fight. So then I was, okay, I'll go back to Thailand now. And, you know, I have fought since, but now pretty much everything that I do now is just for mental health. You know, like if I hit pads and, you know, do a Muay Thai session, I still feel like I've achieved something. I still feel like, okay, it's gone. You know, I used CrossFit for a while too. You know, during COVID and stuff, like all the Muay Thai gyms closed and stuff, so I started to do like CrossFit style stuff, and I got a very similar kind of buzz that you get from Muay Thai, but not quite the same. And yeah, I was doing that. I was really enjoying that, but that made me heavy. Like you gain so much muscle from doing it, and you know, I was really pushing the weights and stuff, but yeah, it still didn't quite hit the same as doing Muay Thai. So then, you know, I was like, oh, you know what? I'll start training again, start doing Muay Thai. And then I was like, oh, I could fight now. And then, so I have fought since, but yeah.
Yeah. What is the main, what are you getting difference from like a hit class or Muay Thai? Is there something you can nail on the head to really explain, like, how is that even helping you, you know, with that mental clarity?
Yeah. I think that like humans are designed to have gone through something hard that day. Like, you know, I think like evolution wise, it would have been going and catching some food, you know, going on a hunt, you know, going on a huge hike to go and get food and all that kind of stuff. So I think that your body kind of rewards you with that feel good hormone. And I think that by doing the fitness classes or a hit class and you push, and you've exerted yourself, you get that's the release. And I'm pretty sure it's like a primal thing where, okay, there you go, now you can relax, you know, because I guess that's what it would have been, you know. Okay, now I've exerted myself, but I've got some food now, so now I can eat, and now I can, you know. So it was in that way, it's a very similar buzz, whether you're doing CrossFit or you're doing martial arts or whatever. It's just that because I know what it's like to have been competing and fighting. That itch just doesn't get scratched by doing. And
it's a quick sense of accomplishment as well.
Yeah.
Like you feel like you've accomplished something by doing that
immediately. Yeah. I think it's important. I think everyone should try. You know, I mean, like I know like people can be self-conscious and whatever. You're not going to be great at it straight away, but that's not how it works. You know, I think you know, if you are someone that's struggling with depression or something, if you can just get into joining up to a gym where they have classes or whatever and just push yourself to get in, just do that 1 hour a day, you know, whether it's F45 or it's something, you know, and you're going to meet people that are on the same journey. Like everyone's got stuff going on, you know, but you know, if you can stop letting yourself be ruled by that, by you know, getting these small achievements for yourself.
What are these main messages you're passing to clients? You've done a lot of PTs, and I'm sure a lot of it people are seeking out because maybe they are struggling as well with mental health. Yeah. Do you have something that your go-to that you are sharing with them that can maybe help them see the light? Because you've had to see it as well, especially going through injury and issues at home as well.
Yeah. Man, like, so for everybody's different, but I know that for me, like, one of the best lessons that I learned was, like, the same year that I came to Thailand, my dad died on the New Year's of that year. So it was like New Year's Day 2013, out of the blue. He wasn't really sick, you know, and I woke up on New Year's Day, went to work as normal.
And then a heart attack, or?
He woke up with an asthma attack.
Asthma attack.
Yeah, and he managed to find himself an ambulance, and but he died by the time they got there, which is super.
Was he a
rare.
smoker or at all? Or?
He was, but he'd stopped. It was crazy, man. And my dad was fit. He was like in his early 60s, but he was a fit guy, and just
asthma attack.
Yeah, totally out of the blue, but it's crazy. But the state of the UK meant that like he couldn't afford to heat his house, and he also wasn't the type of guy that would let you, like, he wouldn't accept anything from you. He was very like proud, so he had this like small heater that he would sit in front of in the evening, but he lived in one room. He had a big house, which was like a council house, but he tried to get moved into a smaller apartment, but there wasn't anywhere for him to move. So he got stuck in his big house, having to pay bedroom tax and all that kind of stuff. And so he lived in one room, and with his dog, and I get the heater that he'd got in front of him, I guess it turned off, and he woke up with cold air on his lungs, couldn't breathe, had an asthma attack, and So but that was totally out of the blue. And that New Year's Day, you know, I got to his house, and he'd got kids from a previous marriage that were down in his next of kin, even though he thought that it was my mom, but because they were separated, they told my half brother and sister first, and they went to his house and ransacked it. They'd had nothing to do with him for years. But I got there, and his car had gone, his TV had gone, any jewelry.
Jeez.
Like horrible people. Went to his empty house, and so it was a super dark time, man. And like that, a few days later, the gym where I was training at opened, and it was a fighters class. So I turned up. I was there early. And my trainer, he was very big on like mental health, and he was like a real spiritual guy. Not the type of guy that's going to sit and do Reiki with you, but he understood about doing like breathing exercises and stuff, which, 12 years ago in the UK, that was pretty far ahead. It's like people are aware of it now, but they weren't back then. So he was like real big on this, and like he'd say the right kind of things to you to kind of put your head right. And he knew about dealing with different athletes. Some people need to feel like they're in charge all the time. Like, okay, you're doing great, even if they're doing bad. And then other people are doing great, but you need to tell them that they're doing bad so that they grow. Some people work differently. And I remember going to the gym, and I was, very fragile. I couldn't cry at home. My mum and sister were there, so I kind of needed to step in. I was kind of numb to everything. So, when I would be by myself, I felt very fragile, and I went to the gym, and got into the room, and I'd got my hand wraps, and I was just putting them on, and I was the only guy there at the time. And he walked in, and he was like, Adam. And I was like, hey Joby. And he was like, are you okay? And like looked at me for a second, and I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, put your hand wraps on. Then you can be ready to deal with the world again. So I think if you can do that, if you really got stuff going on, if you can just take a moment, that training can become your meditation. It can be the time when you take all of the color out of the world, all the, everything's gone. All you're thinking about is, are my hands up? Am I on balance? And all this kind of stuff. Or, am I pushing hard enough? Am I doing these push-ups correctly? Am I doing this squat correctly? Whatever it is, you can get that out the way, and then your body's going to reward you with these feel-good hormones and stuff, and you've achieved something for yourself despite everything going on. And one of the things that he said to me was, because we spoke after the session, and I was like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm in a mess. And I remember him saying to me, "There's always a light at the end of the tunnel, but if you can't see it, it's just around the corner. And that stuck with me. Like, and I've said the same thing to other people, like, regardless of what's going on, there's still a light there. It's just that you can't see it right now. You just need to keep going forward a little bit more and it'll appear. And, yeah, that's something that stuck.
Do you think a lot of Muay Thai fighters, specifically in Thailand, probably deal with the same mental health issues that they need to suppress? You know, a lot of them, they do come from more impoverished families, in which, you know, they come to places from Buriram to Phuket to fight, to make 5,000 baht as an 8-year-old to send it all back home.
Yeah.
But maybe they're dealing with it at a much younger age to even know how to digest that and understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And I am making an assumption, but a lot of fighters, do you think they also struggle, and even Thai fighters, with these similar types of personal issues as well?
I think that in general, the Thai guys, because it's normal for them. Like, they've all got a friend that's going through that or whatever. So they do it as more of like a community thing. Like,
do they talk about it with each other, or do they suppress it? Or would you?
Not really.
I guess because if you're not fully understanding the Thai, you might not hear it going on.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, they're super dramatic, right? Like in general, they are. And like, I think with that stuff, like money and everything, because it's not their main thing. Like, okay, they want money and stuff. They want to provide for their family. But they're not so fixated on it as that Westerners tend to be, I think. It's like, and because we know, okay, there's someone there with a Lamborghini, and I'm here struggling to put petrol in my car. You know, like, I think because there's that high-low thing. Whereas, you know, like, they're coming from these villages where everyone's kind of in the same position, so that's like a very normal thing. For sure, they want more for themselves and not more for their family, but it's like you know, they're kind of accepted where they are and how they are. Whereas,
yeah, I guess because they're all sharing the same road as well. Like you're saying, if there's 20 of them coming from Buriram to Phuket, they're all coming together. They're not alone.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, probably in the Western world, these problems, when you face them, you're basically stuck on your own to deal with that.
Yeah.
When you're saying, like, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, or at least if it's around the corner, and finding exercise in Muay Thai to manage these personal issues, is it managing them or is it suppressing them?
I think it's putting you into a state where you can manage them.
But do you ever fully, like, become at peace with it?
Eventually, I think you do. Yeah, I mean, look, therapy is going to be different for different people, right? Like, everybody's different. Everyone's mind works differently. But I know that for me, that no matter what's going on, if I at least train for an hour, I'm going to feel better about it by the end of it. You know, whether it's an argument with a girlfriend or, you know, stuff's going on at home, it's like, okay, if I can let me just get this for myself, and then I'm going to be able to deal with the world afterwards. You know, yeah, I mean, you know yourself, like, okay, you get a bad business message or something like that, give it an hour. Like, go and do something first and then come back to it. You'll probably have a totally different mindset towards that same problem just because you've taken a bit of time for yourself first.
Yeah, and plus with training, I mean, you're releasing all these chemicals, the serotonin, it puts you in a different state of mind.
And frustration, you know, whatever else, you know, like, yeah, if you're angry and you run that little bit harder, you know, you come back and it's like, okay, what was I mad for? You know?
Okay, well, just before we wrap it up, because you got to get to, it's probably 10:45.
Yeah, it's okay.
You got to get to work. I tried to keep it. See, it's hard to keep it that low.
Yeah.
That was probably an hour and 15. And honestly, we probably could have even gone for another 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So. Anyways, Adam will come up to Hua Hin, and hopefully we'll do one there as well.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
If you're up in that area, it's easy to get around.
Definitely.
Just before we wrap it up, I'm going to kick this camera back to Adam. He's doing a lot of PTs and any type of high-intensity training. And if you're looking to get in touch with him as well, he's going to provide all that information, and we'll put all links down in the description. So I'll just pass the camera back to Adam here. It's this big camera here. If you can just let everyone know if they want to reach out to you and even just connect on any type of level, how can they do that?
The best way now is just my Instagram, which is at Earnshaw. Reach out, contact me if you need help with diet, anything like that. Even just someone to talk to. I'm around, man. Yeah, just drop me a message. And hopefully I'll see you out here.
Yeah, he's an excellent PT trainer. I mean, keeps trying to keep me in shape. If I could just eat right, it'd probably be better. Okay, that ends another episode of the Fruiting Body Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave some comments, because Adam will be back, most likely in Hua Hin at some point. I'm not going anywhere. So we can always follow up with all your questions in future podcasts. Okay, thanks a lot. We're out.